Hi, everyone. I'm Stuart Cardin, Artistic Director of Kansas City Repertory Theater. On behalf of my partner, Executive Director Angela Garris, our dedicated board and passionate employees and artists, I am thrilled to bring A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens into your homes in this most unusual of years. Since 1964, KC Rep has brought our community stories that inspire, educate, entertain, and challenge. And for 40 years, we have created new family traditions and holiday magic through the beloved stories of Ebenezer Scrooge. Since March 14th, KC Rep stages have been dark. We have lost so much this year that it became a beacon for us to find a unique, special, and safe way to share A Christmas Carol with you. For all of us at KC Rep, we believe theater has never been more important. We believe that theater has the power to bring us together, uplift, and help heal our community through powerful stories and shared experiences. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes this holiday season, and thank you for keeping alive our 40-year tradition of A Christmas Carol at Kansas City Repertory Theater.
Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Well, of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and Marley were partners in business for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, and sole mourner. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood years afterwards, above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes Marley. But he answered to both names. It was all the same to him. But he was a tight-fisted hand to the grindstone Scrooge, a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, upon a Christmas Eve, old Scrooge was busy in his counting house. The door of Scrooge's office was open, that he might keep his eye upon his clerk, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, was copying letters. Now, Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. But he couldn't replenish it, for Scrooge kept the coal box in his own room. "A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" cried a cheerful voice. It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew. "Bah! Humbug!" said Scrooge. "What? Christmas a humbug, Uncle? You don't mean that, I am sure." "I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough." "Well, come then. What right have you to be dismal? What reason have you to be morose? You're rich enough." "Bah! Humbug. Don't be cross, Uncle. What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. Out upon Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills with no money? A time to find yourself a year older but not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with a Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should. Uncle, nephew.
You recollect the way?
Remember it? I could walk it blindfold.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on. They walked along the road. Some boys and girls shouted to each other in great spirits until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it. These are but shadows of things that have been. They have no consciousness of us. The spirited boys and girls came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them, every one. Why was he rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them give each other Merry Christmas as they parted? What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas. What good had it ever done to him? The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still. They entered a schoolhouse and found a melancholy room and a lonely boy reading near a feeble fire. Scrooge sat down next to the boy and wept to see his poor, forgotten self as he used to be.
I wish. But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas. This produced an immediate effect. For again, Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of life, and he was not alone, but sat by the side of a fair young girl. "It matters little," she said. "To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me." "What idol has displaced you?" "A golden one. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion, gain, engrosses you, have I not?" "What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed towards you, am I?" "Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man. I was a boy. Your own feeling tells you that you were not what you are. How often and how keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you. Have I ever sought release? In words, no, never. In what then? In a changed nature, in an altered spirit. If you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, can even I believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? Or if you were to do so, do I not know that your regret would surely follow? I do. And I release you with a full heart for the love of him you once were. May you be happy in the life you have chosen."
Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?
I told you that these were the shadows of things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
Scrooge observed the ghost's light burning high and bright, and seized the extinguisher cap, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon its head. The spirit dropped beneath it so that the extinguisher covered its whole form. But though Scrooge pressed down with all his force, he could not hide the light which streamed out from under it in an unbroken flood upon the ground. He was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze in which his hand relaxed, and had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep.
Scrooge awoke in his own bedroom. There was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and the ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove. The crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there. And heaped up on the floor, to build a kind of throne, there were turkeys, geese, game, brawn, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12 cakes, and seething bowls of punch. In an easy state, upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who held a glowing torch and held it up, high up, as if to shed its light on Scrooge. Come in. Come in. Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before. Never. Have never walked forth with the elder members of my family, meaning, for I am very young, my younger brothers born of these later years? I don't think I have. Have you many brothers, Spirit? More than 1,800. A tremendous family to provide for. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion and have learnt a lesson that is walking in me now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it. Touch my robe. Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast. All vanished, and they stood on the threshold of a door. The spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling with the sprinkling of his torch. Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, Cratchit's wife, and she laid out the table, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged his fork into a saucepan of potatoes. And then 2 younger Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the baker's they had smelt the goose and had known it for their own. Whatever has your precious father, then? Said Mrs. Cratchit. And your brother, Tiny Tim? And Martha weren't as late last Christmas by half an hour. Here's Martha, Mother! Here's Martha! Said the 2 young Cratchits. Hurrah! There never was such a goose, Martha. Well, bless your heart alive, my dear, how late you are. We'd a deal of work to finish up last night, said Martha, and had to clear away this morning, Mother. Well, never you mind, so long as you're come. I'll sit you down before the fire and have a warm, Lord bless ye. No, no, here's Father coming. Hide, Martha, hide. So Martha hid herself, and in came little Bob, the father, with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim. He bore a little crutch, and his limbs were supported in an iron frame. Where's our Martha, then? Not coming, said Mrs. Cratchit. Not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day? Martha couldn't bear to see him upset, so she came out from behind the closet door and ran straight into his arms. And how did Tiny Tim behave? Asked Mrs. Cratchit. As good as gold, said Bob, and better. He gets thoughtful sitting all by himself sometimes, and he thinks the strangest things you've ever heard. He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people in the church saw him, and that it might be pleasant for them to remember who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Bob's voice was tremulous when he told them this, and it trembled all the more when he said that Tiny Tim had grown hardy and strong.
Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own to make amends in. Oh, I shall live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three will strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons I have learned. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, old Jacob, on my knees. I don't know what day of the month it is. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. But never mind, I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Oh, hello! Whoop! Hello here! He was checked in his transports by the churches, ringing out the lustiest peals he had ever heard. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist. Oh, clear, bright, jovial, stirring, cold, cold, piping for the blood to dance to. Golden sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet, fresh air. Oh, merry bells. Oh, glorious, glorious. What's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in his Sunday clothes. Aye, returned the boy with all his might of wonder. What's today, my fine fellow? To die? Why, it's Christmas Day! Christmas Day! Christmas Day! I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Why, they can do anything they like. Why, of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello. Do you know the poulterer in the next street but one at the corner? Well, I should hope I did. An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one. What? The one as big as me? A delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my boy. Why, it's hanging there now. Is it? Go and buy it. Walker! No. I am in earnest. Go and buy it, and tell him to bring it here that I may give them directions where to take it. Do it, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with the man in less than 5 minutes. I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. Oh, I'll send it to Bob Cratchit. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. The hand in which he wrote the address was not a steady one, but write it he did somehow, and went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the turkey. As he stood there, waiting its arrival, the knocker caught his eye. Why, I shall love it as long as I live, cried Scrooge, patting it with his hand. Well, I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has in its face. Why, it's a wonderful knocker. Here's the turkey. Whoop! Hello! Yes, come on, yeah. And hello. How are you? Merry Christmas. It was a turkey. He never could have stood upon his legs, that bird. He'd have snapped them short off in a minute like sticks of sealing wax. Why, it's impossible to carry that to Camden Town. You must have a cab. Oh, the chuckle with which he said this, and the chuckle with which he paid for the turkey, and the chuckle with which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy, were only to be exceeded by the chuckle in which he sat down breathless in his chair again and chuckled till he cried. He dressed himself all in his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, and walking with his hands behind him, he regarded every one with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant, in a word, that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, sir, a Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest to his ears. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and did it. "Is your master at home, my dear?" said Scrooge to the girl. Nice girl, very. Why, yes, sir. Where is he, my love? He's in the dining room along with mistress, sir. Oh, well, he knows me. I'll go right in. And Fred. Well, bless my soul, cried Fred. Who's that? Well, it is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred? Let him in. It was a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. Scrooge was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did the giggly sister when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party. Wonderful games. Wonderful happiness. But he was early at his office next morning. He was early there. If only he could be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart on. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. He was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come into the tank. Bob's hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock. Hello? What do you mean, coming here at this time of day? Well, I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time. You are, yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please. But it's only once a year, sir. It shan't be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I am about to raise your salary. Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I've given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary, and I'll endeavor to assist your struggling family. And we'll discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Well, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but his own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.